Hello, everybody. What's going on? Welcome to Amateur Hour Sports for today. Raptors Happy Hour stream. New segment on the channel where I'm live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to discuss the latest going on around the Toronto Raptors and sometimes the rest of the NBA as well. Yes, excited to be here today. What we're going to be doing for you guys today. Going to be discussing the media discourse surrounding the Raptors after their preseason opener against the Denver Nuggets. Depending when you watch this, I don't know if you're watching this in the 5-hour window you have before the Raptors' second game, then obviously the information will be relevant. Things can possibly change after the Raptors play the Sacramento Kings in their second preseason game Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern time. But I'm not live after that. I'm live before that. So I'm going with the information that we have and the discourse, again, that surrounded that opening game. We're going to talk about Scotty Barnes. We're going to talk about Grady Dick. We're also going to talk about Jakob Pertl and Sandro Mamukelashvili. And then we got some other fun stuff to cover on the show today as well. But how's everyone doing? Raptors tonight, like I said, against the Kings. Hopefully a better performance in some aspects of it. Hopefully it's a bit more organized defensively. Hopefully, and we'll talk about this, Scotty Barnes, performs better. But we'll see. We'll see. 5 more preseason games. Hopefully things do get underway. But, we're here for the Wednesday happy hour. Like I said, live on this channel every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Sorry. Turn my phone off. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. If you enjoy what you see from this stream today, then please make sure you do smash that like button. Also, please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel to keep up to date with all the content that we have coming your way. On top of those Monday, Wednesday, Friday streams, also watch-alongs for as many Raptors games as I can, and bonus videos throughout the week in the form of stream clips and highlights typically. As for the game tonight, unfortunately, I play rec league soccer on Wednesday nights for the time being. So no stream for me tonight as the Raptors visit the Kings on the West Coast. I'll be following as much as I can from the game, but I won't be doing any stream for it. But we can talk about what happened in that game when we do our weekly or our tri-weekly Raptors Happy Hour Friday. We'll talk a bit about that then. But, the Wednesday Happy Hour, like I said, middle of the week, gives you a nice boost. Sometimes can feel like the week is taking forever, but that Wednesday happy hour reminds you that you're more than halfway there. Only 2 more days. And really, you only really got to get through like one more. Like as much as you got to get through 2. You get through one more and the vibes are back up on Friday. And you know it's a Friday. You know what's going down that night. You know what's going down on the weekend. So, you really got to push through one more day after this. And that Wednesday happy hour can be that nice little reset in order to get you there. How's everyone's week going so far? I've had a pretty good week myself. Feeling better this Wednesday than I did last Wednesday. I was feeling really burnt out last week, but feeling a lot better. It is rather cold in Toronto today, I gotta say, out of nowhere. It's been pretty warm. We're kind of in that spring fall part of the year, like obviously not spring, but I mean like that time of year where we're transitioning into different weather. So middle of the day it's typically quite hot, but at the start of the day it's typically like quite cold. Not the case for today. It was cold in the morning and it was cold during the day. It was cold outside today. I have a hoodie on as a result, but now that I'm talking, it's actually getting a little warmer here. So I'm gonna take this sweater off. Give me 1 sec. Give me 1 sec to do that. All right, just like that, we're back. Let's keep things going on the stream today. Yeah, rather cold today, kind of not really out of nowhere. I mean, it is October 8th, but I think on Monday I was talking about like how hot it was, like how amazing the weather has been even into October. So it's kind of turning on us quickly. This might be the start of the end of the t-shirt short season. I did tough it out in shorts today, but felt a little bit cold at times. Joining us today on the stream in the chat, we got Q-Man, we got Raptor_champs. Once again, Dale Berry Sports highlights some ever-presence. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, hanging out with me for today's show. A couple people with excitement. Hell yeah, I love to see it. We also have Dale Berry Sports saying happy Wednesday. Yes, happy Wednesday to you guys as well. Like I said, a little over halfway through the week. And we're on Raptors game day. Keyman says, are you going to do the home game on Friday? Am I going to the home game on Friday? I'm not going to the home game on Friday because I'll be right here on Amateur Sports live streaming for y'all, hanging out with you all over that while the Raptors play against. I believe that one is the Boston Celtics game. So I'll be here streaming for that one. I won't be at the game. Also at 5 p.m., like I said, we do have the Raptors Happy Hour for the Fridays. But yeah, that first game, now that it's kind of simmered a little bit, I talked about it and I put it out in a video, but I talked about it on stream. It was right after the game, so it was more of like a first reaction. Haven't really documented the thoughts after letting it simmer a little bit, so I guess we'll kind of do that now. On that first game, the turnovers really did mask, and I know Jakob Poeltl is missing. We'll get to that a little bit later, but the turnovers really did mask what was not that great of a Raptors performance. The offense did find it difficult to manufacture opportunities for itself, and then when they did, the three-point shooting in particular was very poor, but overall, Raptors didn't do a fantastic job of giving themselves great opportunities to match the Denver Nuggets in scoring. And defensively, it just felt a little bit disorganized. And that's bound to happen with new players, their preseason opener. Denver may have new players as well, but maybe it helped because they already had a preseason game, and they're just a better team as the Denver Nuggets, of course, with Nikola Jokic. But in the end, it wasn't that great of a performance. The Raptors lost by 4 in the end, but it definitely could have been a lot more. Felt like there were opportune moments where the Raptors went on runs to keep it close and make it look better. And then at the end of the game, it was the third and fourth stringers out, and the Raptors made a little bit of a push in those moments. So, yeah, as a whole, the game left a bit to be desired from an overall perspective. Individually, Brandon Ingram, very good. I mean, finally, in the years... The 5 years I've been covering this team on this channel, I have so often talked about the Raptors needing this type of player, a guy who's just going to get you buckets, a guy who's just going to create his own shot and score, hit those tough shots. Man, it feels really nice knowing that sort of player now exists on the Toronto Raptors. I think that's just great to see, great to have with the team. Brandon Ingram looked good, and considering that's his first game, that's his first time playing a game in 8 months, it was very impressive. So hopefully that can continue. However, it wasn't all fantastic, as we know. There were some individual performances that did unfortunately leave a little bit to be desired, as I mentioned. And comment here from James does give us a start to this segment here. James says, Scotty got to go off this game. Yeah, it really does feel that way. It was a unfortunately poor performance from Scotty in the opener of preseason against the Denver Nuggets, and he caught quite a bit of scrutiny in the just overall discourse from the Raptors fan base online, but a little bit of scrutiny in the media as well. So let's kind of talk about that here. So the performance, the Scotty Barnes performance was bad. I mean, it wasn't. It depends how you frame it, because he played well defensively. He was a good playmaking piece. He brought pretty good energy, kind of led by example in that respect. But also, this is a guy who's now a max contract player. We're not on a rookie contract anymore. This is a player who is making maximum money, huge contract, and he doesn't get a single field goal in the entire game against the Denver Nuggets in a preseason game. He played 19 minutes. He got to the rim twice. One time he was fouled and went 1 of 2 from the line, and the other time he missed a wide-open layup. His other shots, 2 open threes, which he missed, good shots, and then 3 contested mid-range jumpers. Just a pretty disastrous sequence for Scotty Barnes from a scoring standpoint. And it's just one game, and I said this right after the game as well. It was just one game, but you need more. You absolutely do need more. Here's a tweet that came from Josh Lewenberg of TSN, NBA beat reporter for TSN, and obviously specialized with the Raptors. This is what he had to say. Barnes was great defensively, had 5 assists, but 6 shots, no buckets, 1 point in 19 minutes isn't going to cut it. Ingram's presence should help him in the long run, but that could take some time to figure out to play off each other. A work in progress, but it's early. Now, I agree with a lot of this. It is early. It is a work in progress. He is figuring out how to play next to Brandon Ingram, and the Raptors are working on a lot of things with their offense. I completely understand that, and I will give him a little bit of a pass from that perspective. But again, it's just some of the decision-making from a shooting perspective, like the amount of mid-range shots he was settling for, which is a bit of a concern. And I don't want to harp on a lot of the things that I talked about in that post-game show or post-game recap that I did. But in the end, yeah, we can't go into another season where he's playing like this. And like this is his process for the game. That's my thing. So hopefully, just like a good stamp of authority against the Kings tonight that just reminds everyone, okay, I'm a good player. I can do this. But there has to be more of a fixation on getting to the rim, and a lot of that's on him. But the coaching really does have to set this straight. You cannot be trotting out Scotty Barnes to take half of his shots as contested mid-range jumpers. You want to settle for shots in mid-range. There is a guy who's going to take those shots very well. That's Brandon Ingram. That's the guy taking those shots, not Scotty Barnes. But again, hopefully it is, again, a little bit of that work in progress. Feels good, man, in the chat says Scotty will drop 26, 10, and 10 against Boston on Friday. Last year he went crazy during preseason. Yeah, he has always had quite the knack for playing well against the Boston Celtics. I don't know if it's just matchups seem to work well for him against Boston. I don't know if he's just more fired up playing against one of the most respected teams. I don't know what it is, but he always has had a knack for playing well against the Boston Celtics. Is Scotty the third best in the team? Ingram 1, RD2, Barnes 3. I don't think so. I think Barnes is the best player on the team. The best player on the team doesn't necessarily mean you're the first option on offense, because I think that title would go to Brandon Ingram. But if we're trying to construct a narrative on who the best player on the team is, it's Scotty Barnes. I think there's a recognition of that from coaching and management perspective, and I just believe that it's true. I think he's the most well-rounded overall player on the team, and just needs to start showing it a little bit more on the offensive side, so scoring side of the game at least. Andre still says pressure season for Barnes, and quickly and rightfully so. Yeah, I mean, where the team doesn't play well for back-to-back seasons, and these guys are making a lot of money, especially Barnes' max contract kicking in, there is pressure to perform, and hopefully this just isn't. Hopefully this just isn't foreshadowing the season for Barnes. You know what I mean? Because it's not like it's not the fact that it's just one game in preseason. It's the fact that these are the same habits from last season that we were very much hoping would be corrected for the upcoming season. And it's just hey, this was bad last year and we're still doing this. There's no evidence as of now of a change. Now, we got a lot more chances to get that evidence of things changing. It's just a worrying start that it's the same process that wasn't working last season. That's for what I think. Q mentions Scotty has reached his limit. I don't agree with that at all. We've seen on so many occasions when Barnes is aggressive and attacking the rim that he's just incredibly difficult to stop. And we've seen Scotty Barnes as well shooting the ball 34% from 3 in a season. We're absolutely not his limit. He shot 28% from 3 last year. Field goal percentage was down. This is a player fully capable of, limit. We're talking about limit. He's fully capable of going 35% plus from 3. I'm happy with 32, 33. But we're talking about limits here as well. I think he's capable of averaging 50% shooting from the field as well, which would be big for the team. It means his twos are a lot higher. I'm a fun guy, says, Jesus Christ, relax. It's preseason. I'd even prefer Scotty didn't play worthless. What? I'd even prefer Scotty didn't play worthless ass game. So I disagree completely and entirely. Preseason gives you opportunities to kind of work out differences in your game that should have been kind of being started to implement in the off season. And I don't think that a player having a bad game in preseason is grounds to say this guy sucks and everything. I mean, I haven't said that at all about Scottie Barnes. My complaint, which I feel like I've made pretty clear here and in previous shows that I've done, but maybe I haven't. But my complaint for Barnes is that it's the same process that dropped his levels last season. It's the same lack of aggression on offense. It's the same settling for bad shots on offense, which is problematic. Like, how has it not been communicated or understood from him that an early shot clock, mid-range jumper over an outstretched hand, how is it not communicated that's a bad shot? How are we still allowing that to take place? So it's just a worrying start to preseason because it's like, okay, we don't want to see that happen again. If it continues to happen, then we have a problem. So I don't think at all I'm overreacting to the game and saying he's a bad player or that he shouldn't play. It was a bad season last year by his very high standards. He needed to work on his game in the offseason, and the one piece of evidence we have right now suggests that the things that I thought he should have been working on were not being worked on. That raises a few questions for me. And look, at this point, there's no more kind of defense for if this does, and this is big if this does continue into the season, and he does have a season this year like he had last year, which was underwhelming by his high standards. Again, there's no more he's young, he's learning to obviously he's still pretty young, he's still developing on things, but there's really not a lot more you can do to shield him away from the criticism. You do need to start being a little bit tougher and say this team needs you to be better. This team has traded away some extremely talented players to commit to you as the main guy. And it's completely fair for the fan base to be demanding a little bit more than what they saw in that preseason opener. Now, look, he could have a great game tonight. He could be super aggressive. He could get 20 points. He could be 7 of 12 from the field. And this could all go away and everything's fine. And we go, wow, we were acting so crazily after that first game, just one preseason game. But I think that the criticism that he received from that first game is completely, I think it's completely justified from what I've seen. Now, granted, part of it does go overboard. Some people took it way too far. You can let me know if you feel like I have. I don't think I have, but there's a lot of very fair criticism out there for a player of his caliber. He's just got to be better at certain points. And he has to understand that people are going to demand more of him this year. And you need a little bit of a higher element of consistency. And so much of it just feels like decision making. I'm always going to forgive a bad game down to execution. He was trying to get to the rim and just stuff wasn't falling. But when you're settling for these bad shots, that's a problem to me. It just feels like when he's locked in and aggressive, he's just, you can't stop him. It's sometimes you see games from Scottie Barnes, you just wonder why he can't do that every time, right? That's what I mean. Some fourth quarters, he's so tenacious, just so aggressive attacking the rim. You just think, how is anybody going to stop this if he does this every game? Right? Barnes is spending a lot more time on stream than actually practicing on court. That's such a made-up criticism. That's obviously not the case. Obviously, Barnes does not stream more than he practices. Obviously, Barnes practices. I understand. I said this during the watch line. Would you rather NBA players just literally sit on their couch and do nothing when they're not playing? They can't practice 24 hours a day. If they did, it wouldn't help them. They'd be so exhausted. You're on a schedule. How often should a player be practicing a day? What does a Raptors practice session last 3 hours? Would he be doing some conditioning, stretching stuff for I feel on a maximum level 5 hours? Okay, great. I think an overestimate on how long they'd be practicing is 5 hours working on their game during the day. So if we're talking about the off season, where there's no games. It's just a 5-hour session, 5 hours of work every day. Let's say it starts at 9. Let's say there's like an hour break in between. 6 hours, 9 to 3. What the fuck do you want him to do from 3 to whatever? 3 to 9, 3 to 10. Sit there and do nothing? He can't enjoy himself? The fact that he broadcasts himself to the public is bad. It means he's not practicing more. It means he's not practicing. Like, it's such like a bad way to criticize a player. Like, you want to criticize his game, sure, but like a player streaming, enjoying themselves in their downtime. Like, do you think everyone else is at the fucking OVO Athletic Center, the practice facility? He's streaming while everyone else is practicing. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? The game should be controlled and slowed down for Barnes by now in a season with expectations to come out hard and decisive. Yeah, that's a pretty good way to look at it as well. At this age, the game should start to slow down, become less erratic, and doesn't feel like it. I didn't feel like it last season, so hopefully it changes this season. We have Thomas Perry in the chat. Nick Killer, one of our amazing 12-month members. Thank you for joining us. Missed the first game, late game tonight. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm out tonight and can't stream for this one, but I do hope for a good performance, and hopefully with those turnovers we created, hopefully a little bit more efficient offensively and a bit better defensively. I think Jakob Perla coming back will help that. Andre Silva says, oh, sorry, we'll go in order. I'm a fun guy. Says, Scotty going to be so sick this season. That dude with Ingram sweet. Yeah, maybe it's just they need a bit of time to work on it. Sure. And just hopefully we start to see the signs of that happening. Hopefully those signs start to creep into the preseason because it wasn't apparent in the first game, which, again, can be forgiven. It's just the type of shots he was taking was a concern. Where do you think the Raptors will end up this year if they remain healthy? I think, realistically, they're a top 8 seed. I think my prediction is they are a home seed for the play-in tournament. Home seed for the play-in tournament. So 7 or 8 seed. I think they have the capabilities of finishing as a top 6 seed, and I think they have the capability of finishing lower than my prediction as well. But I'm going to go 7th or 8th in the Eastern Conference. I think that's a realistic goal for the team to achieve and get into the playoffs from there. I think they will get into the playoffs from that point as well. Feels good, man. Says the game hasn't slowed down for Grady yet at all. So that's a good segue into the next conversation that I want to have here, because I completely agree. And that also seemed a little bit apparent in that preseason opener against the Denver Nuggets. Obviously, just preseason. But again, it's like the stuff that we wanted to see improve over the offseason. We didn't come into the season with it looking like there are improvements in those areas. And with a very deep Raptors team right now, with 13 to 14 players vying for rotation spots, there's going to be some odd men left out. And if more performances like the one from Grady Dick against the Denver Nuggets happen, he will be one of those odd men out. I completely agree there. Again, it's just one preseason game, so there's no definitive statement here that he can't hang at this level. There's nothing of the sorts. So we're not going to spin what I say in that direction. But it absolutely was a little bit of an alarming performance from the preseason game, because my thought process is like what Grady Dick has to do in the offseason. He needs to become a little bit sharper with his three-point shooting. And three-point shots are extremely high variance. You can have good looks, you can take good shots, and just on a certain day, they're not going to fall, and that's fine. But like what he really needs to be working on in the offseason was his defense. And that's what you can get to work on in a gym. Because last season, as much as there was improvements here, last season for Grady Dick, it was his defense on a lot of occasions that just kept him off the court and gave the Raptors coaching staff excuses not to play him. And in certain games, like, you just could not play him down the stretch because he was getting torched on defense. Now, offensively, there was a big jump from year 1 to year 2, which was great. From an output standpoint, for sure. Like, Grady Dick went from 8.5 points to 14.5 points. From 2.2 rebounds to 3.6. Assists went up as well. Rebounds and assists mostly down to the just minutes going up. But the points went up at a higher rate. So the points definitely we saw improvements in. But his efficiency went down a little bit. And he shot 35% from three. True shooting percentage of 54, which is not that good. Especially for a guy like, he's shooting threes. That can really drive up that true shooting percentage. It weights them accordingly. But he shot 35% from three. That definitely leaves a bit to be desired from him. You just wanted to become more of a complete knockdown threat for the Raptors, especially with his potential, and especially because you know he has the ability to do it. You just know he has the ability to do it there. We didn't really see that. Again, that can be forgiven. It was, like I said, a rough preseason opener for him from a box score standpoint. 17 minutes for Grady Dick, which was a good chunk. It was near the top of Raptors players in this game. 1 of 6, 1 of 4 from 3, 2 of 2 from the line, but 5 points, 3 turnovers as well. One of them extremely sloppy in doing so, just like lost focus and lost his hand on the ball without any really defensive interference. It was definitely a rough game for him on offense. And defensively, this is where some of the concern starts to step in. Defensively, he looked the same. He looked bad on defense, and it didn't look like improvements had been made in that area. Again, it's one preseason game. It's not definitive. There could be improvements that we'll see in these other games. But there's a lot of times when you go into even the preseason opener and you see that has gotten better, that has sharpened up, that has clearly been worked on. And there wasn't really anything out of Grady Dick's 17 minutes that made me say that or come even close to saying that. My thoughts resonate quite well with TSN Raptors beat reporter Josh Lewenberg, who said the Raptors are deeper this season and they're trying to win. If Grady Dick is going to hold off the more versatile Ochai Agbaji and the younger Jacoby Walter at their deepest position, he'll need to be a whole lot better than he was tonight on both ends of the floor. So yeah, the Raptors have not necessarily a top-heavy bench, but they have players vying for these spots. Agbaji is pretty established. He's decently established as a talented defender, and he was very good in shooting the 3-ball last season. Jacoby Walter is coming into his second season and looked good in Summer League. Now, Jacoby Walter did not look good in that preseason opener. Maybe a bit better defensively than Grady Dick, but offensively did not look good in that preseason opener as well. But there is a lot of excuse to take Grady Dick almost out of rotation if things don't start to see a jump or an improvement. I think he's going to have a lot of leash there, and I think that they really want to see this investment in time and Grady Dick pay off and Grady Dick's performances raise up. And look, that absolutely has a possibility of happening. It's just if the same Grady Dick comes out this season that was there last season, beyond the first few months of the season. Because the first few months of the season, he was spectacular. He was an MIP candidate, even though the defense and stuff wasn't there. The offense was definitely there. That definitely faded off as the season went on for him and the Raptors. So if we kind of see what we saw near the end of the season for Grady Dick this year, then absolutely there are going to be players trying to bully him out of that rotation spot. So basically what I'm trying to say for Grady is that role, that spot, and those minutes are his. But now there is much more internal pressure from the players behind him where it's not impossible Grady Dick loses that spot. I think my opinion at this point, whether I think it will happen, I don't think it will, but I do think that it will become a conversation a few months into the season, maximum. 2 or 3 months of the season, I think that these conversations are starting to happen. Because, when you try to go through, try to name the rotation. Darko said he wants to go 11. I don't think they should go 11. He's typically started the season with an 11-man and eventually trims down to a 9-man rotation. So we're trying to name the 6 guys that are going to be playing coming off the bench. It's just based on this game. So it'll be Mahmoud Kelishvili for sure in rotation, I think. Looks like based on the minutes, Colin Murray-Boyles will have that spot. That's 2. Looks like Jamal Shead, your backup point guard, he's going to have that spot. And then it starts to get a bit dicey. Is it Jonathan Mobo? Maybe. Is it Jacoby Walter? Maybe. Like Grady Dick, I said will be in it. That would be the fourth one, right? We're already at 4. And then we have, like I said, Jonathan Mobo. Like I said, Jacoby Walter. You also have Ochai Agbaji. Jamison Battle was kind of out of favor in that first preseason game. And this is a game that Jakob Poeltl wasn't even playing. So there's a lot of competition for these spots. And therefore, a lot of excuses where if somebody's not up to scratch defensively, and it seems like the Raptors are kind of wanting to build this defensive identity with their team, he could eventually become one of those odd men out. Like that preseason game kind of showcased, the Raptors are going to be a team that relies on possession battle. They're going to rely on turnovers. They're going to rely on their defense keeping them in these games. They did that at the latter stages of the season. So if Grady Dick is kind of not up to snuff there, yeah, there could be some pressure from the people behind him. And as much as, could be problematic for the player individually, it is a good problem to have. It is good. Part of, I think, what made the bench mob successful way back when now for the Raptors was like there was just a lot of good players off the bench and a lot of people fighting for those minutes. Bobby Webster himself said his media availability ahead of media day, he said that we're paraphrasing, but we're very happy to have this internal competition back with the team. And I think that's only going to push players, and hopefully it pushes Grady Dick in the right directions. But if the defense just isn't going to cut it and it just isn't going to be there, again, one of those serious conversations will need to happen. It will need to happen there. A lot of Raptors fans think that would be a failure season. We end up a playing team, especially in a weak East. A lot of fans we are a top 4, so I just don't see that. Listen, like if you just, if I just decided that the Raptors need to win a championship, I'll be upset. I'm going to be very, very likely, 99.9% chance I'm going to be very upset with the season. If you set your expectations too high, then you're going to be underwhelmed. I think you have to be realistic. I think it's very unrealistic to look at this team and think they're an absolute shoo-in for this top 6 seed. They can do it, but to have that as your, you'll be upset if they aren't that. You could be disappointed, but it's a bit of a lofty expectation for a team. You don't just go out and run a marathon. It takes a while to build up to that point typically. And this is a team that has won 55 games, is it? Or the 57 games? Less than 60 games in the last 2 years they've won. Now all of a sudden you want them to win 45 plus in a single season. That's going to be really tough to do. I know it's the same team. They added Ingram and they were tanking previously, but I think it's a lot more realistic to say they better be in the play-in. They could be higher, but play-in is where they should want to be, and getting to the playoffs from that route. But playoffs in any way, I think, would be a successful season. Again, you have to be smart with your expectations, or else you're almost guaranteed to get underwhelmed. You see flashes of Grady scoring, it looks great, but I don't see trust his consistency. Yeah, it's just like the threes. Honestly, 35 is. Listen, if I'm really harsh, if I want to be really harsh, 35% is not high enough shooting from 3. You are a shooter. You are a 3-point shooter. That is what you do. That is the primary thing you do. 35% is not good enough. Being brutally honest. 35 is like the floor of what he should be doing. We need to be higher there. But when after that, how is he going to score attacking closeouts? Because okay, he gets defended more aggressively because he's a good 3-point shooter. Most good 3-point shooters eventually figure that out, and maybe he needs more time to figure that out. But once we're attacking the closeouts, what's next? Is it mid-range? Because you know how I feel about mid-range. It's not attacking the rim because he was very poor at that last season. Has that been worked on? Has he beefed up? Has he become a more talented finisher there? He's become a more aggressive finisher. Is he going to be better finishing there? Maybe. And that would be the progression on offense. How has he gotten better at attacking closeouts? Should be something he looks at. Absolutely. Was Jacob injured? Jacob was injured for that first preseason game. Yeah. Feels good, man. Says, makes me question Darko's development. I've long questioned it because, like, the players that have gotten better under Darko's tenure, how much of that is just, it's a young player that was going to get better no matter who he was playing for? How much of that is Darko? What's the blend? It's definitely not like one or the other. There's a blend somewhere. Does it lean more in favor on one side or the other? I don't know. Like, Jakob Poeltl has seemingly improved. So I think you got to give some respect there. Barnes has gotten better as a defender, so I think you have to give respect there. But then you have, like, you know, some other stories where it hasn't quite worked out. So I don't know. I don't think there's been, I mean, as much as, like, there has been, I don't think there's enough development that has happened individually for that to be, like, you know, when Darko's at internal meetings with the front office, that can't be like, well, this is what I do. I'm a development coach, and here's the proof. I don't think there's enough to have done to have made that to make that the word is escaping me for this, but you know, the thing at the top of your resume, the thing you're most proud of, essentially, your biggest achievement. I don't think there has been enough development to put that at the top and say this is what he does. Darko's the development guy. You know, we're not winning right now, but Darko's not focused on that. He's focused on development. If he's focused on development, I would have liked to maybe seen a bit more. Joaquin or Joaquin Cruz says, I think we should let Grady find his flow first of all. We got like 6 preseason games, so we'll definitely find his flow, and we will probably make most of it. Yeah, I mean, look, the threes again are things like I can forgive for not going in the first game, but his defense looked just as bad as it did last season. That's just part of the alarm for me. I watched 30 minutes of the game. Big Boy says if there's a trade this year, Grady will be in it. Got to tell you, it's a lot easier to trade him knowing you've got Jacoby Walter there, Ochai Agbaji as well. Like, Agbaji, I think, helps you win. It'd be a shame to trade Agbaji. I don't know. Grady Dick could be an interesting piece to put in a trade to have some teams think about. But you know, I was saying in the summer, like, this is a guy you don't trade because of his shooting. But man, if the defense is going to stay this bad, you got to think about it. I think at least a little bit. Scotty might win something this season, but so might Ingram. Ingram looks so smooth. Yeah, I'm a fun guy. Ingram looked really good in that game. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Luis Nagacha says, when I get drafted, I will bring us back to the promised land. Remember the name. Remember the name. No. Yeah, Barnes and Grady were the players I wanted to see the most out of, and it was just underwhelming from preseason. And you know, I said if you set these high expectations, you'll be underwhelmed. I don't think I set that high of expectations. Like, I just very much feel like it should have been better from Barnes and Grady. Hopefully, hey, they set things straight. They set things straight, and we can forget all about this tomorrow. You know. Let's just hope that's the case. And all right, as we move forward, let's focus on some more positive stuff. People say I'm too negative. I feel like I'm one of the more positive fans out there. I give lots of players extreme benefits of the doubt. It takes me a really long time for me to kind of flip the switch on a player and go like, okay, I'm past defending, saying this could happen, this could happen. Like, a lot of people are there with Barnes. I'm certainly not there yet. If no one feel like I'm really close. I can definitely see it in the distance, but I'm definitely not there and not close. Anyways, let's switch to some stuff that's more positive here, because one of the big positives out of that preseason opener, and if he steps up this season, one of the big positives that could happen for this season is absolutely the play and fit of Sandro Mamukelashvili with the team. Preseason opener, people were wondering why maybe he wasn't starting when Jakob Poeltl was out with a sore back, but Sandro Mamukelashvili was, I think, the standout. I think it's fair to say the standout performer against the Denver Nuggets. 15 points, 6 of 8 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, played solid defense, was a good connective piece in the offense. I really wish, and I don't get why we didn't see it, I really wish we would have seen lineups with Mamu with the rest of the starters. So quickly, Barrett, Barnes, Ingram, with an additional floor spacer in Mamukelashvili, rather than like Mobo, who is almost like disruptive to the flow of that group at times. I was wondering why I wouldn't see more of Mamu in those lineups, but obviously this is a pretty upper tier. Like I'm gonna be frank, this is a pretty upper tier Mamu performance. You're not gonna get performances like this likely on a consistent basis, but somewhere close to this, where he's knocking down a three or two a game, 1 or 2 threes per game, and he's just playing his role, playing hard on defense. That could be quite a big boost to this team. Let's be honest, that could be quite a big boost to this team. And we'll see, and this is kind of what I want to get at here. We'll see how that works in conjunction next to a player like Jakob Poeltl. Because Jakob Poeltl, like I said, missed a game with a sore back. And Jakob Poeltl is a player who I think is so vastly underrated in NBA discourse, which can be forgiven. What I cannot forgive is how vastly underrated he is in Raptors discourse. Like, just because he doesn't space the floor from a three-point shooting standpoint, it does not mean that he isn't a fantastic player and a great fit with this group. And when you don't see him play, it is very large evidence of what you are missing. Defense is obvious because of how good he is as a rim protector, how good he is as a defender and a rebounder, alleviating a lot of the pressure off your team. That is very big for sure. But offensively, you're missing as well. You're missing some of the easy buckets you get down low from him. And just because he's not spacing the floor from a three-point shooting standpoint, man, you really miss some of those screen assists. You really miss some of those two-man actions where he's playing pick and roll, and he's giving the guy with the ball handler, so much additional space. He's giving guys space off ball this screening. He's giving guys space by playing out of the high post and making the right pass. There's so many little things that he does extremely well that you really do miss out on when he is not there on the floor. So I really wanted to give Jakob Poeltl his flowers. And when Jakob Poeltl signed his contract extension, I was one of the people like, yeah, that's kind of what I expected him to get. He's a very good player, and hopefully he can prove that for the team going forwards, especially when he does come back from the back soreness. And I imagine if this was like a real game, not preseason game, I imagine he would have stepped up and played. But anyways, I don't know. But kind of wanted to discuss with that, what is the fit going to be with Mamu and Jakob Poeltl? Because there's been some praise from Mamu in media day and just media availabilities. They're a little bit excited about what he can bring, particularly having this type of player, a floor spacing big, hopefully a floor spacing big, because Mamukelashvili has been pretty up and down with his three-point shooting in his career. Typically, it's been good, but it's been up and down in his career. Hopefully, we have an up year, and it's a good year for him, and that would be big. We just haven't had that type of player in the team in quite some time as well. Two of, like, the big archetypes the Raptors are missing. Got a just bucket getter like Brandon Ingram, who's here now, and a big one space the floor off the bench in Mamukelashvili. Poeltl's a starting center, so what kind of role does that leave for Mamu off the bench? There's kind of two ways you can go about this. Is it going to be Jakob Poeltl's backup is Mamu? Just if Poeltl's off, Mamu comes in, and depending on the matchup, he's defending as the 5. A lot of the settings, actually, a lot of the sets, and this is a particular player you're guarding in Nikola Jokic, but a lot of the defensive sets in that preseason opener where with guys like Colin Murray-Boyles guarding Jokic and Mamu guarding like a 4 instead of guarding the center. Because Mamu's a little bit undersized for the position, especially guarding a player like Nikola Jokic, and he's not quite as strong or built for that position, maybe like a player like Colin Murray-Boyles. Anyways, will we see just Mamu getting the minutes when Pearl's off? Or, and this is what is exciting to me and what I really do want to see, or are we going to see Mamu in some lineups alongside Pirtle? Or are we going to see lineups where we're going to entrust the starters to handle the defense? Mamu comes in as that floor spacer. Those are the two kind of things that I really want to see experimented with in the preseason and to see if we can get them to work in the season. Because it's just one thing having Mamu come in as a backup center for Pirtle. It's another thing when you can inject him alongside quickly Barrett, Barnes, and Ingram and just give a lot more spacing to those guys with the three-point shooting and just having that extra space on the interior. Because as much as Pirtle does space the floor for them in other ways, we're a team that's attacking the paint a lot. Having that kick-out opportunity to your center as well just adds something different. It's just another thing for the scouting report, another thing for other teams to have to worry about. I think that's something great that the Raptors should be exploring, and even without Pearl that first game, I cannot recall a situation where they did explore that sort of lineup. That was a little bit confusing to me for that game there. But on top of that, now obviously we could not have seen this in the preseason opener because Jakob Poeltl was not playing. But what did start to come into fashion for the Raptors, or for the NBA last season, is the double big lineups. And when I think double big lineups, I really like to think about Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka in that Philadelphia 76ers playoff series because that was just so terrific. They played so well together. And I'm not saying this is like Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka type players, but it will be interesting when if you are going to bet on possession battles, which the Raptors did in that game and did a lot last season, where you're focused on the turnover battle, winning the turnover battle. Well, you can also win the possession battle with rebounding and offensive rebounding. And that's kind of where these double big lineups have gotten popular, where you're taking shots and you are crashing the glass. You are generating so many extra possessions and extra shots. And let's be honest, the Raptors' efficiency projections would say they could use those extra possessions. I do want to see what it could look like there, because you can rely on Mahmoud Kalashvili kind of being in the corner and spacing the floor there, while also having Jakob Poeltl at the elbow and making things happen out of those spots. And then is that giving space and kind of letting a green light go for a Brandon Ingram? And you put them in lineups with Scotty Barnes or RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly. I really like the possibility of what that could be for the team. So I just want to see that start to happen in preseason. And Mamu is an exciting piece because I don't want to go overboard, because this is a guy who hasn't really been anywhere where he's established a role for the entire season, at least on serious teams. He's a player who's shown his abilities in flashes, for sure. There's clearly ability, there's clearly talent there. But for the most part of his NBA career, it's been in pockets and in flashes. But it's just, if we can get a good level of consistency out of him, that is a piece that can unlock a lot for the Raptors, not just coming off their bench, but for their starters as well. MJ Dollarstream in chat says, why is Mamu not in the starting lineup? Well, I think they just really wanted to get him involved with the bench unit, because they have fixated a lot on the bench pieces this season and what the bench lineups could look like. So I think the idea was that Mamu's going to be in and amongst guys like Walter and Dick and Murray-Boyles and Shed. So let's get him more acclimated to playing next to these guys and seeing what he looks like in this role off the bench, because that's the role we want him in. But I think that's fine. And I think they're kind of sacrificing the starting center spot with Mobo to make that happen. And I think that's fine. But at some point in the game, usually sometimes, a lot of times I've seen Barnes was the first player off, or Barrett's the first player off, and then they come in with the second unit. Well, what if we did that with Poeltl instead and gave them a much better backbone defensively in Poeltl? Because some of the bench defense has been not so great. Let's give them that backbone defensively, that defensive anchor. Let's trust Barnes to do enough for us on defense with that starting group. And let's inject that that three-point shooting with those starters. Again, just fun lineups that I want to see implemented here because I think they could seriously do some damage. If the Raptors can make it work, like I said, it's a very interesting piece for this team. Raptor champ said, Mamu always had the skills. I think Toronto will unlock him. I hope so. It's just the consistency for him. Joshua says, why everyone thinks Sky will go to a new level if he doesn't show anything new or improve soon and fast. He just currently the level he was last season. That's my concern. Like, when will we start to see it? Hopefully soon. Hopefully those new levels soon. Last thing to wrap us up on the stream today. We talked about it on Monday. LeBron James was teasing the decision of all decisions on October 7th, which was yesterday now. And it was called the second decision. So here's what we watched. Loud. Walked in, sat, and obviously trying to make it look like the decision, his decision to take his talents to South Beach. And people were genuinely concerned. Like, I have a friend who's a big LeBron fan who was actually very scared LeBron was about to retire. Well, my first thought when I saw this was, this is an ad. And I said, how much money did a company have to pay him to disguise an ad like he's about to announce retirement? I thought like a very bad look for LeBron to do that. We debated what that was going to be, what ad campaign is going to be. My theory was it was going to be Chipotle introducing like tacos or something. And, you know, October 7th was a Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. October 7th was also National Taco Day. I saw a lot of red in the video, so I'm like, maybe it's Chipotle. And like the decision of all decisions is, do I want chicken or steak taco? I don't know. Other people speculated that LeBron has a deal with Prime and Amazon Prime days are beginning, and it could be that. And yeah, that was also a very good theory. What should have and just didn't cross my mind for whatever reason was Hennessy. He's had deals with Hennessy before. But like for Prime, I was like, what would be the decision he has to make? And for Hennessy, what would be the decision he has to make? Well, let's listen in and take a look at the Hennessy ad that this actually was.
Well, everyone's on pins and needles across the country. You ready to go, LeBron? Where's the powder?
Left it at home.
LeBron, fans want to know.
So like repeating like the actual like decision video, they're repeating what that looked like. Again, cringe.
Where you're taking your talents this year. What's your decision?
In this fall, man, this is tough.
By the way, LeBron, I hate to do this to a man. LeBron's fucking hair is hanging on for dear life. His hair is looking ratty and rough in this video. It's clinging on. He's 40, right? He's 40. But the amount of work that has had to go into his hair to keep it like this, just imagine what it should be looking like.
In this fall,
right now. Man,
I'm going to be taking my talents
it's thin.
to Hennessy VSOP.
VSOP? And this was the conclusion you woke up with this morning?
That was the conclusion I woke up with this morning.
Hennessy VSOP. Like, what decision does that mean? Hennessy VSOP? What decision is that? My decision is I already drank Hennessy and now I'm going to like continue to drink Hennessy? What, like, I don't even understand how this works as a fucking decision.
I feel like it's going to give me the best opportunity to win more at hosting. And not only that, win at signature cocktails, win at having a good time.
It's also funny that like none of these hand shots are LeBron. It's just some random dude who wore the same outfit.
Win at impressing guests. Win at making memories. Win at making it look easy. Win at leaving people wanting more.
LeBron, appreciate it.
So, naturally, this got some very negative reactions. People are upset about it, and I have to agree with them. But yeah, it's a bad look for LeBron. I think it's a pretty bad look for Hennessy. But at the end of the day, this ad campaign, and this is from Marcus, the ad campaign here got so many views and so many clicks and so many eyes on Hennessy branding that I think from a marketing perspective, whoever was in charge here has to feel like this campaign overall has gone down as a success. That's the unfortunate answer to it. All right, I got to wrap up a few minutes early here today. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into the Wednesday Raptors Happy Hour stream. As I said, I'm live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, covering the latest from the Raptors and a little bit of the latest around the NBA. I do a lot of watch parties as well for Raptors games. Unfortunately, I won't be available for the Raptors watch along tonight against the Sacramento Kings. But I will be back Friday for the Happy Hour stream. I'll be back Friday for a watch along as well. And we have bonus videos sprinkled throughout the week. Hope everybody has a great rest of their week. And I hope to see you on Friday as we wrap it up in style for the Friday.